Live from London, this is BBC News. Kamala Harris says the US presidential election is a choice between freedom and chaos at her first rally since becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepares to address the US Congress as hundreds of activists protest against his visit. This is the scene in Taiwan as the country prepares for the imminent arrival of Typhoon Gami. And in an exclusive interview, Janet Jackson tells the BBC how she taught herself to dance. Hello, I'm Karin Giannone. We start in the US, where Kamala Harris has said the presidential election in November is a choice between freedom and chaos. She was addressing her first campaign rally since gathering enough party support to become the Democratic nominee for president. Speaking in Wisconsin, which will be a crucial state to win if she wants to enter the White House, she accused her rival Donald Trump of wanting to take the country backward. Let's just bring you a line of breaking news from Nepal. There are reports that a plane has crashed on takeoff from Kathmandu airport with 19 people on board. It's believed to be a Saria Airlines plane taking off from Kathmandu International Airport. An unnamed Saria Airlines official speaking to the BBC said it was flying to Pokhara with around 17 of its own staff on board the plane, and the flight was not a regular passenger flight, but a Saria Airlines plane has crashed on takeoff from Kathmandu International Airport. 19 people believed to have been on board. We will bring you any updates we can as soon as we get them. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. A powerful typhoon with winds of up to 240 kilometres per hour is expected to hit Taiwan's northeast coast in the coming hours. Typhoon Gami is being described as a very large and destructive storm, about the equivalent of a Category 4 hurricane. Flights have been cancelled, financial markets closed, and people given the day off work. Let's just show you some of the live pictures we've got coming in from Taiwan. You can see it's looking fairly calm still, but the country is bracing for that typhoon. Let's talk to our correspondent Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, who's in Taipei. A little bit more stormy where you are, Rupert. Just tell us the impact this is already having on daily life. Now, Janet Jackson's one of the best-selling artists of all time, with more than 180 million records sold worldwide and a string of hits that have left a lasting impression on pop culture. Ahead of her Together Again tour coming to the UK later this year, she caught up with our music correspondent Mark Savage.
Mark Savage, BBC News.
I'm Karin Giannone in London. Stay with us here on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, the latest business news from across the globe. Business Today.
Tesla loses steam, its profits hit a 5-year low as falling prices bite. Low-cost airline EasyJet reports a 16% increase in pre-tax profits. And we'll be hearing from the Brazilian builder of this aircraft. Can they compete with bigger rivals Boeing and Airbus? Also the show on National Tequila Day, we'll explore a drink that's bucking a trend of falling spirit sales. Hello, I'm Vishala Sri-Pathma. Welcome to Business Today. We're going to start talking about electric vehicles now, because Tesla has reported its lowest profit margin in more than 5 years, missing expectations on Wall Street. The car maker's been forced to cut prices in recent months to compete with rivals, and it's facing fresh challenges from legacy car makers in the US and elsewhere. Well, Well, the company's CEO, Elon Musk, has said he would be shocked if his self-driving cars aren't ready to operate without human supervision on the US roads by next year. Well, we can hear more now from our New York business correspondent, Erin Delmore. Well, around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. To the Farnborough Air Show now, where the great and the good of the global aerospace industry is gathering all this week. We've already heard about the difficulties facing Boeing in the wake of a safety scandal and also how its rival Airbus is struggling to cope with extra demand. So could there be room for another player to enter the market for big jets? Well, one possibility is the Brazilian company Embraer, which is already a major player in the market for smaller airlines. But would it be able to build something a little bigger? Well, that's a question our reporter Theo Leggett put to the company's boss. That was Wendy Hopkins talking to me a little earlier about National Tequila Day. Let's have a look at the markets before we go. And Asian markets there on the board. Slightly down, the Hang Seng and the Nikkei, sort of digesting business sentiment across the region. And of course, that typhoon that's headed for Taiwan as well, which means that financial markets are shut in the country there. And futures for the US markets are looking pretty positive. That's it for us on Business Today. Stay with us here on BBC News.
Live from London, this is BBC News. Kamala Harris says the US presidential election is a choice between freedom and chaos at her first rally since becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepares to address the US Congress as hundreds of activists protest against his visit. A public inquiry in New Zealand finds some 200,000 children, young people and vulnerable adults were abused in state and religious care over the last 70 years. And this is the scene in Taiwan as it prepares for the imminent arrival of Typhoon Gami. Hello, I'm Karin Giannone. We start in the US, where in the first major speech of her White House campaign, Vice President Kamala Harris has described November's election as a choice between freedom and chaos. Speaking at a Democratic Party rally in the crucial swing state of Wisconsin, she said that as a former prosecutor, she'd dealt with predators who'd abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, and cheaters who broke the rules. She told cheering supporters that she knew Donald Trump's type. That's Grant Robertson, who's New Zealand's former Deputy Prime Minister. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Here in London, the British government is honouring Ukrainian athletes who've died in Russia's war on their country, with a new display being unveiled in Parliament Square. The war has claimed the lives of at least 487 Ukrainian athletes, although the true number's likely to be higher. Just 140 athletes from Ukraine are competing at the Paris Olympics, and that's the smallest team Ukraine has fielded at a Summer Games. Let's go to Parliament Square now, where our reporter Olga Malchevska is. Olga, we can see the Ukrainian colours behind you and the tragic number. Tell us why you're gathering there today.
For polio, for example.
We are out of time. So sorry to interrupt you. Bushra Khalidi there joining us from Ramallah, speaking from Oxfam. Just to note, the Israeli military says it is working with various organisations to deliver vaccines to Palestinians in Gaza, and around 300,000 have been sent to the territory since the beginning of the war. We will bring you up to date on all the very latest. Do look on our website. I'm Karin Giannone here in London. Stay with BBC News.
Hello, here's how the weather prospects are shaping up across Europe.